In this episode, we look at a quote from Austin Kleon from his book, Keep Going. Get excited because this is Tiny Leaps. Big change, big change, big change. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Leaps, Big Changes, where I share simple strategies you can use to get more out of your life. My name is Gregg Clunis, and in today's episode, it is Sunday that this is publishing, so we are doing the second installment of, I don't actually have a name for this series. Let's call it Stuff to Think About, where I look at a quote or an idea or something I came across in the previous week. I share it with you, I expand on it, and I try to leave you looking ahead at the rest of your day and the week ahead in a different light than you came to it with. So this should be super fun. The last one went over really well, so I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be a really good way to end the week or start the week, depending on what Sunday is for you. And it's something that will allow me to share more of what I'm coming across with you as I do my research for this show, as I do my reading for my own growth and development, as I try things and fail at them, and so on and so forth. So today's quote, we are looking at something I came across when I was reading the book Keep Going by Austin Kleon. Now, if you watched or listened to yesterday's episode, which is up right now, you can find a full book review on Austin's book, so I recommend you watch or listen to that, or both, whatever you want to do. Because that should help give you an understanding about what the book is about, how it fits into his larger sort of philosophy around art and creativity, and I think that might enhance your experience of this episode. So let's look at today's quote. Quote, "A little imprisonment, if it's of your own making, can set you free." I'm going to read that again. "A little imprisonment, if it's of your own making, can set you free." End quote. Now, again, that is a quote by Austin Kleon from his book, Keep Going. I recommend picking up the book. You can find a link in the description of this episode. There's two big things that this makes me think of, and I want to share them with you in case it can help you as you go through your week or your day. When I was in college, I'd always wanted to work for myself, right? Be self-employed and not have to rely on a job. And I was an art major, so I graduated with a degree in art, no particular focus, just sort of general art, I guess. I took design classes, photography, animation, painting, drawing, so on and so forth. And my animation professor said something to me that has always stuck with me in the back of my head and has always sort of popped up as something to consider as I move through my life. And the context around this was I was telling her that I liked animation, I liked design, I wanted to do those full time after I graduated, but I wanted to be independent. I didn't necessarily want to be tied to a job. And she looked at me and she said, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember the exact quote, but she said something to the effect of, having a job can sometimes be the best way to create your art. And I just remember that sitting in the back of my head because it had this notion about it of making sure that the bills are paid, making sure that you have steady income and can do all the things you need, not to mention buy the art supplies you might need. That is sometimes the best way, even though you are sacrificing those 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. That is the best way to utilize the 2 hours or 3 hours that you might have from that time, because you don't have to worry about where rent is coming from. You don't have to worry about where food is coming from. Not to mention, if you are independent as an artist, as a business owner, as whomever, it has major drawbacks in that you kind of can't always work on the things you want to work on because you have to ultimately work on things that have value. No one is paying for your art if they don't find it valuable in some way. And so your art then needs to speak to that person in order for them to pay for it in whatever way that they pay. Similar to this show, I love doing this show, and I'm more or less happy with every single episode that I've released. But the topics that I pick, sometimes they are informed by what it is that you want to hear. And that more often than not crosses over with the things I want to create. But every now and then that is not the case, because at the end of the day, I am providing something to you that you need to perceive as valuable in order for me to have the ability to keep creating it. So that's the first place that that quote takes me to, is this idea that whatever it is you're trying to do in your life, whatever you're trying to create, whether it's a business or art or hobby on the side, if money gets involved and you're trying to do it professionally, sometimes that cage is less freeing than if you just had a job and did that thing on the side. So that's one thought. The second one is how this relates to routine and discipline. So I, again, sort of on that, in that realm of wanting to be self-employed, wanting to be independent and on my own and work on the things I want to work on, I have struggled historically with being disciplined, with setting my goals and working every day at the same times and focusing on doing that thing and not just sort of whimsically moving through the world with following whatever my next excitement is. And that has been beneficial in some ways, because it has allowed me to tap into my creativity and find the things that I'm really passionate about and move towards them. But it's also been a massive drawback in other ways, in the sense that I don't get as much done as I should. I haven't moved things forward as much as maybe I could have. And so the second place that this quote takes me is the idea of discipline and routine as not necessarily a prison, but as freedom itself. The fact that you know everything will be taken care of and you can trust yourself to do that allows you in those moments of freedom to truly enjoy that freedom, because you know the work will get done. You know the task is going to get accomplished or has already been accomplished. And so in those moments, you don't have to be worried about, will that happen? You don't have to be worried about, oh, do I need to stop doing this and start focusing on that? It's going to happen, and you can trust yourself because historically you've proven it to yourself over and over and over again. And that's one of the other big benefits of quote unquote imprisonment, is that you can trust that a certain thing will happen. You can build that trust with yourself, and that allows you to move forward and focus on the other areas of your life because you know that this part is solid. So how does this all relate to you? Those are the two places the quote takes me, but I do want to leave you with something to consider for your own life. And what jumps out at me here with this is fairly simple. When we are trying to build new habits, when we're trying to change our lives, when we're trying to improve and make progress and accomplish our goals, oftentimes sacrifices need to be made. And many of those sacrifices aren't easy to make, but they do need to be made. One of those sacrifices might be the immediate freedoms that we believe we have. Meaning, you might not be able to get home from work and watch 3 episodes of The Office on Netflix. You might not be able to read as much as maybe you want to. You might not be able to go to that yoga class, all depending on the goals that you have and what you are trying to accomplish in that moment. There are other pieces of your life that might need to be sacrificed. Now, in that sacrifice of that freedom, it actually allows you to gain more freedom around that specific thing. So if your goal is to start a business and grow it and eventually quit your job, you have more freedom to focus on that and work on that if you are willing to sacrifice the freedoms that are maybe currently taking up your time and energy and space. And because you can build a routine around that and sacrifice even more freedom about what it is you work on and when you work and things like that, you can then within that goal focus even further on what truly matters. So as Austin says, a little imprisonment when set by yourself can be freeing. It can be the greatest source of independence. You just have to be willing to think about it that way and approach it in that way. So I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know your thoughts on these episode types. The last one got really good feedback, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one and on the concept going forward. Drop a comment over on YouTube at youtube.com/Gregg Clunis, and I'd love to have that conversation. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Gregg Clunis, and remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.